Stongo Flaska. Can y'all see me? I could get a yes from Desiree or a yes from somebody.
You can see you, yes. You can
Okay,
see
awesome.
you.
Yay.
See you.
Yes, okay, thank you. So, hello, everybody. Let me get this out of my way so I can see. There we go, okay. So, each day we're starting the, I want to go forward one more. The sentence building and Muskogee structure class. This is the first lesson that we're going to be doing for this. And today we're going to specifically cover sentence order and basic sentence creation. I just want to quickly kind of talk about, before we start, like what are these classes? So one of the things that I think a lot of people find really hard when they first start learning Muskogee is they don't know how to kind of order their sentences or how to conjugate, how to make, you know, actual conversation out of the things they will learn. And this is to help you kind of do that. Because of that, this class is definitely more geared towards second language speakers. So first language speakers or native speakers, this class might kind of seem a little confusing or odd because it's probably not the way you're used to thinking about Muskogee language. But as someone who's a second language speaker, this has helped me a lot on knowing how do I structure my things and everything like that. So I also wanted to make sure everybody knows all levels are welcome. We're not covering alphabet or anything, so if you can't read, that's okay. Go to Mvhayv Becky's class or Mvhayv Emerton's class, and either one, you'll get to learn all those steps and stuff with them. And then come back here to kind of figure out how you do the sentence part with your items. So all levels are welcome. We're gonna start at the, what I would consider like the base level, and then we're gonna work up from there. And then because I know Miss Desiree brought that up, these will be available on YouTube. We plan on making its own playlist for like grammar and sentence building help. And we will be giving out like PDFs every week. I'll have at least one PDF that you'll be able to have. We'll put that on Google Drive. We'll make sure that you guys have access to that. So we're all good. Before we really get into it, Stone Gold, Jim Mvhayv. So Eli, Georgia Pados, Gowida, Amida Wadon. Actually interested voice. So my name is Eli or Eli Rowland. I've been working here since December, but I'm working at Muskogee Nation for a lot longer than that. I'm Muskogee and Choctaw. And my Idalwa is Gowida, and I'm a daughter of the Panther clan, or Tiger clan, as some people know it. So I will be your teacher for this series. And actually start making sentences and start off, we need to know the sentence order of Muskogee. So let's get into that first. We're going to get right into the meat of it. So what is sentence order? Okay, starting on the left side. Sentence order determines where we put words in a sentence. And these include concepts like subject, verb, object, adjective, but don't let that scare you, please. Don't worry, we're gonna go over what those kind of mean and stuff, and you don't have to know the words and stuff to be able to kind of feel the concepts. I'm just giving you words that we can use to actually talk about it. So we're gonna do this together in a very simple way. But sentence order is the whole reason that a word like toilet paper and paper toilet are two different things in English. That's sentence order, right? So we're gonna kind of do like, how do we do sentence order in Muskogee? Okay, so to first kind of ease us into the concept, I want to start with English versus Muskogee order. So our definitions on the left side, let's start there first. So let me get this guy out to make my life a bit easier. So subject, right? That's the who is doing the action when you're talking about a sentence, right? And this is going to usually be the first thing you see in a sentence in English, right? In English, first thing you see. The next one's going to be a verb. The verb is the actual like action, right? So it could be something as simple as eat, drink, sit, or stand. Those are all actions. So some actions may not feel like you're doing much, like, you know, typing on your phone or talking may not feel like you're doing something compared to running or playing a sport, but they're both verbs, they're actions you're doing. And in general, in English, this is going to go in the middle of an English sentence. And then last but not least, we have our object. That's the what is being affected by the subject and the verb, right? So I kicked the ball. So the ball's being kicked by me, right? That's the thing affected. Otherwise, the ball would stay there. So that's going to usually be the last thing in general in a simple English sentence. So our subject, our verb, and our object. So in English sentence order, like I said, it's going to be SVO, subject, verb, and object. So in a very simple English sentence, we have I eat bread, right? Our subject, our there we go, our verb and our object, right? Who's eating the bread? And that's kind of how you can think of these. Who is eating the bread? I am, that's your subject. What am I doing? I'm eating, that's our verb. And then what am I eating? That's our object, the bread. So now if we look at Muskogee sentence order though, instead, there's only one major flip, right? So subject's still going to be first. That S is still first. But the object and the verb flipped. So it's verb and then object. I, bread, eat. So some people think of it as Muskogee is backwards. Not necessarily. That's kind of depends on how you look at it. If that makes it easier for you, then sure. But I don't think of it that way. I just think of it more as the verb is last, right? So you have your most important thing, your subject. Then you got your middle stuff in your sandwich. And at the end, the sandwich is your verb. That's kind of how I think of it. Oh, I do. Sorry, this is supposed to be SOV. Sorry, SOV. SOV. There we go. But oh, SOV. See, it's the subject, the object, and the verb. SOV. SOV. So in the future, when I'm talking about SOV, that's all I'm talking about. Subject, object, verb. SOV. Right, kind of be doing that over and over again. Okay, so let's clear all that and move on to our next guy. Okay, so we're going to kind of actually practice this concept, right? This idea. We're going to use English sentences first. Because if you can kind of start to see it in English, then when we put it in Muskogee, it won't be as scary or difficult feeling, right? So let's start. Let's do, how about, we'll wait for that. Let's go ahead and do something else. Okay, so first, she. Oh, that's what it was. I wanted to get my, just trying to get the drawing tool out. Okay, so she. Oh, it doesn't want me to draw. There we go. Gosh, it's being finicky. Well, now won't even let me click it. But it did switch. So you got, there we go, and draw. There, okay. So you gotta cheat a little bit, but quick version. So she is the first piece. So the same thing in both versions is the subject. This is probably the subject, right? She. Who is eating the ice cream? She. Okay, so what is she doing? Right, that's how we ask for verbs. Is eating. Is eating. Eating. What is she eating? That's the question we ask for object. Ice cream. Ice cream. And keep in mind, when we talk about like SVO or subject, verb, object, we aren't required to stay in the realm of one words for that to be, right? So I could say the man with the hat. That's still a subject. That's still one person. Talking about the first person. The man with the hat is eating ice cream. It's just that these in simple sentences are one words. Okay, so following that same logic, our pieces are going to be we, right? Which is subject. And then our swimming. And I've been putting R into the same group. We're not going to get super grammar invested today. So for simplicity's sake today, R is a part of it all. So she is eating, and then we are swimming. So the we is who, the what is the verb. We are swimming. What are we doing? Swimming. Okay, and last we got the dog is chasing the cat. So first thought, who is chasing the cat? The dog. So everything in this spot, the dog, subject, the dog. Now we have the what is the dog doing? Is chasing. We have verb. And then what is the dog chasing? Our object, the cat. The cat. Yes, exactly. Good. So Christy already put it in the chat. That's kind of how we're gonna go. That's how this all works. Nice. Okay. Okay, now on this one I color coordinated it because I believe Miss Mvhayv has already said this before that where color works for her, color works for me too. So she is eating ice cream. Let's start with the first one. So she's eating ice cream. We have our subject, our object, and our verb, right? S-O-V is Muskogee order. So I made it nice and easy for the brain. We're putting them in the order of the colors, right? So first, it's going to be red sheep. Our subject is still the same. Now, in Muskogee, we don't always need that piece. We don't need she all the time, or I, because we can show these in the verb, which we'll talk about in later lessons. But in this case, she. Next, object. Our object is ice cream. So it's going to be ice cream. And then lastly, our verb is green. Eating. Eating is. Eating is. Now that's important. Because even though in this sentence, right, it's is eating, is going to be the last thing always. So eating is. Eating is. It's not correct in Muskogee to say is eating. It would be eating is. So that's a quick little note. Think to yourself. Is always last. If it's in the sentence, it's very last. So she, ice cream, eating is. Okay, for the next one. This one, you notice we don't have an object, right? This one only has two parts. We are swimming. Now you could say we are swimming in water. That would give us an object kind of to work with, but we don't need that. I mean, I'm assuming you're swimming in water. I'd be more surprised if you said you're swimming in coffee. So because we don't need that part, we don't need to put anything for it. So instead, we just go straight from subject to verb. So we, which once again, in the verb, it'll show, but for now, we. And then swimming are, right? Because once again, even though is and are aren't the same words, they both come from the verb to be. The verb to be. So swimming are. We swimming are. Okay, so the last one, we start with our subject, which is red, right? And it's the same thing in English, first piece, the dog. Now this one we would keep in because otherwise we don't know who is chasing the cat, right? So the dog. Next we have our object, right? So that's going to be the cat. Nice. And then lastly is our verb. So it's going to be chasing. Is, because once again, that's always going to be the last piece. Is last. And because we now, unlike English, right? If I say the dog is chasing the cat and then I switch, I say the cat is chasing the dog, those are different sentences. Sorry, somebody is unmuted. Let me go ahead and just real quick to see if I can. If everybody can check real quick to see if they're muted. I'll probably ask for people to come off mute in a second so they can kind of practice it. But yeah, so in English, if I say the dog is chasing the cat or the cat chasing the dog, that's separate. Can I come here? Yeah. See,
Since you're the host, you can mute.
oh, there we go. There we go. I fixed it. Okay. Ooh, okay. In Muskogee, it's actually a little bit more flexible. I could, if for fun, say the cat, the dog chasing is, and we'll have other ways of showing which one's doing what. But generally, you're not going to do that unless you have a good reason. So the best way to think of it is the dog, the cat chasing is. The dog, the cat chasing is. Okay, click on my drawings. Nice. Boop. Nice, we have it here. Sheep, ice cream is. I have it is eating. It is eating is. I just didn't really think about putting that on this one. We are swimming. The dog, the cat is chasing or is chasing is. Okay, so now we're gonna do it with Muskogee words. So, boop. Okay. So here's our group of words. Wish I could. I'm trying to get this thing to move out of my way, but I don't think it will. Okay. So we have our words. We have the bear is eating blackberries. That's our English, right? Will be are and is become verb subject 6% words. So they are auxiliary verbs in English and in Muskogee. So what that means is it's separate, but it's a part of it. So we do have it, we use it like we do in English, is eating, is swimming. So they will be there and we'll go over that, if not next week, then the week after probably. So we're gonna cover that. For now, I'm just kind of giving it in the easy form. But yes, they are involved in Muskogee, like they are in English. So with the bear is eating blackberries, right? Okay, so for bear, we have Mvhayv, eating, we have, in this case, hombi, is dos, and gajo is blackberries. Now, this isn't the pure form of all these words. The pure form would be like hombida or omida. We're not using that right now because you're just first understanding the pieces. So this is as if I took the sentence, I put all the puzzle pieces around. How would you put the puzzle pieces together? Right? So we have, these are the puzzle pieces. Mvhayv, hombi, dos, and gajo. That's the order they show up in more or less in the English sentence, right? Okay, so let's break this down. What is the bear? And at this point, hey, ooh, we got guesses already. Nice. I was going to ask if you guys want to start guessing. Yes, so feel free to put your thing in the chat. I want to see everybody go with their guesses. So we have gajo, Mvhayv, hombi, dos. We have Mvhayv, gajo, hombi, dos. So those two different guesses. Mvhayv, gajo, hombi, dos. Nice. Heck yeah. Any other guesses? Any other guesses? And you can put the same on somebody else if that's your same guess. Heck yeah. While you're doing that, I'm gonna break down the pieces, right? I'll show you. Okay, we have the bear. The first part, right? And the first part is always in English. It's gonna be the subject, right? Next, we got is eating. Is eating. So the bear is doing what? Is eating, the verb. And then last but not least, which at the moment, yes, there we go. Okay, I couldn't see it because my thingy. Blackberries, there we go. So it's the what is the bear eating? Blackberries, that's our object. So the thing being affected by the bear, right? So knowing that, okay, now we gotta think about then which order are they gonna go? So if English is SVO, Muskogee is, then say it with me at home, SOV. 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 So in that case, what will it be? What will it be? Nice. Yes. Okay. Here we go. Mvhayv, gajo, hombi, dos. Bear. Blackberries. Eat. Is. All right. Let's kind of put them in their groupings. You can see. Mvhayv, bear. Gajo. Now this one has an N. You'll notice it has an N on the end. That's for something that we'll talk about later. It bothered me not to add it. So it's a grammar thing. Now you didn't have to add it. You're fine. Your sentence is still okay. Gadron. Eat. Hombi. And then dos in this case is our is, right? No borsi. Gadron. Hombi dos. Now real quick, I want to clear that. That way you can see it. I'm going to read it a few more times. Does Gadron make it plural? That's a good question. So it does not make it plural. In Muskogee, in fact, we don't really use plurals. The only times you'll see plurals is when we're talking about human entities. So like honanwa, man, honandagi, men, hokti, woman, and then hokdagi, women, howiwa, child, howidagi, children. But when we're talking about gudjo, waga, stuff like that, right? Cows, blackberries. We don't show the plural. Instead, the plural is shown by either explaining like numbers or saying things like a lot, a few, or in the verb itself. That's why, fun fact, when you say goodbye to your teacher, right, to Becky or to Desiree, you would say jihi jafis, right, hadam jihi jafis. But they usually say hadam jihi jagafis, because she's saying, I see a bunch of you later. So we'll talk about how to do that as well in the future. We got to start at the base first, but that was a good question. Can I also say no borzi? Gadron dos. Yes, you can. The T will make a difference. So we'll kind of talk about later when you add that T, what is that difference it's making? It's kind of the difference between saying a bear versus the bear. And then, I'm sorry, I missed that. Why is there an N added on? So in this case, the N is added on to show that blackberries is the thing the bear is eating. That's why the N is there. To show that it's the object, basically. Nice. Now, because this sentence is very obviously not the blackberries are eating the bear, you don't have to have the N in there. I just can't help it. So I have it. But you didn't have to, because we know the blackberries are not eating the bear. Versus in a sentence like the dog is chasing the cat, you would have that N to show whether the cat or the dog is the one chasing, right? Okay, if there's no other questions, we're going to read that one more time before we move on. Okay. No borzi, gadron, hombi, dos. No borzi, gadron, hombi, dos. Nice, okay. So let's do this with a few more sentences. The man is running. So our words, we have man, or nanwa. We have he, she, or it runs, liki. And we have is, dos. Onanwa, liki, dos. So doing the first top one first. Think about what is your subject and what is your object and what is your verb. Before I start writing it, I want to see if you can think it yourself. I'm going to use, what's a crazy color to use with this theme? Let's use blue. Use blue. Okay. So in the chat, right? Which one do you think the subject is? Verb and object. Remember, not all sentences will have an object. Nice. We already got one guess. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm going to start showing which piece is what part. Okay, the man. The first part, which is the subject. What is the man doing? That's going to be the verb. The man is running. Is there anything else? So there's no object in this one. That's okay. In English, you need a subject and a verb at the most basic level to make a sentence. In Muskogee, which we're going to talk about, you only need a verb. That's the thing you have to have. So the man is running. So in that case, like somebody had already guessed, right? We have man, we have run, and is. And which one's always last? Is, right? Is always going to be the last. So we have 491. Liki. And then dos. I didn't have enough room. I wrote too big. Honanwa, liki, dos. Honanwa, liki, dos. Nice. Now the next one. We have the girl likes to sleep. I added 2 different verbs in here this time to see if you can figure out which one's what. Right? So I'm not going to give you anything. We're going to read through the Muskogee real quick, and then I want you to try to figure out which order you think it's in. Okay? So our pieces. Girl, hokbuji. Right? Hokti woman, hokbuji girl. He or she or it likes, wants, or needs something is iagis. Iagi. In this case, we're going to take no, we're going to go iagis. Iagis. Makes it easier. Iagis. Now, I want to make a note. This E right here is something you can choose to use or not use. It's usually, I think, kind of either personal or dialectal. So I believe a few different Mvhayvs here, I think they tend to not use that E on the front of Iagi. But my dialect, I use it. So I will use Iagis. But if you say Yagis, that's also correct. Both are correct. And then our last word in this group is Nojida. Nojida, and that means to sleep. So what is the order it's going to be in? I want to see some guesses before I give you the answer. Nice. We already got some guesses. Looks like everybody's on the same wavelength right now. Anybody got anything different? Gonna give it a second while I take a sip. Okay. Okay, so let's group it, right? So first group, the girl is the person doing something, right? And it's the beginning, so it's our subject. Now, to like something, that's an action you do. To sleep, that's an action you do. But in this case, what is the action the girl is doing? She is liking something. This is the verb. She's liking something. What does she like? See, that's where we're going to find our object. What does she like? She likes to sleep, our object. She likes to sleep, right? And now, since Muskogee is S-O-V, or SOV, if that's easy to remember, SOV. So, in that case, we got Okdoji. Nojida. And then E, if you use my accent, and if you don't, then no E. E, Yajis. Okdoji, Nojida, Yajis. Nice. Hey, yeah, give your pat on your back. Pat yourself on the back if you got that right. Nice. So we're gonna read them both real quick. Top one, man runs is Onanwalikidos. So don't unmute yourself, because otherwise it's gonna be like a whole symphony. So at home, unmute. Repeat after me. Onanwa liki dos. Onanwa liki dos. Now we're gonna do one time. Nice. We're gonna do one time all the way through. Ready? Onanwa liki dos. Heck yeah. Next one. So it becomes girl to sleep, she likes, right? Because Iagis is implying she likes. So piece by piece, I repeat after me. Hokduji.
Hokdoji.
Nice, good. Yes, that K gets stuck in your throat. Hokduji. And then Nojida. Nojida. And then Iagis.
Iagis.
Iagis. Nice. All together. Hokduji, Nojida, Iagis. Heck yes. Awesome, awesome. Awesome. Okay. So the most important things to remember. Number one, in Muskogee, the verb is always 100% last. Always. The verb is always last. If you need to write that somewhere out for yourself on a notepad or something, the verb is always last. The only exception is, think about in English when we're like, what are you doing? Or like, where are you? The store. That's an acceptable answer. Is that a sentence though? It's not a sentence. The sentence would be, I'm at the store. But I can say the store. You can do that in Muskogee. It's like, oh, It's an afitza. Where are you? Muskogee. The store. But that's not a full sentence. If we're making a sentence, the verb is always last. And the only thing you have to have for a complete sentence in Muskogee is that verb. That's a full sentence then. Muskogee aflees. I'm in the store, right? I'm going about in the store. So must have a verb, must be last. Most important things to remember. After that, you just kind of put all the other puzzle pieces in places. So as long as you know that, you're already most of the way there. Verb is always last. Nice. Okay. Well then now let's look at what verbs look like in Muskogee. Right? Because if we're going to be able to talk about making sentences, most of our language is verbs. That's just the matter of the fact. So let's look at what a verb looks like. Okay. Action verbs specifically usually end in ida. That's what we're going to talk about today. Action verbs. So they're going to end in ida. Right? Ida. So here's 4 action verbs at the side, right? Hombida. Nojida. Iskida. Likida. Ida. 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 This is what we call like the dictionary form. This is the form that you're going to find if you're looking up the verb in the dictionary. Why? Because think of that ida as kind of like when we say to eat. When I'm using eating in a sentence, I don't say I to eat a sandwich, right? But in the dictionary, it'll say to eat. Right? So that's kind of like this. That ida is like that to eat version. So we have to change the way it looks when we actually use it in a sentence. But this is how we can recognize it in an actual dictionary. Humbada, nojida, iskida, likida. Right? Okay, so one time through, repeat after me. Humbada. Nice. Nojida,
Nojira,
iskida,
Iskira,
likida.
Gida.
Nice. Is that like the infinitive form? Exactly, it's the infinitive form. I didn't want to use that word just in case somebody didn't know what it was and scared them off. But yes, it's the infinitive form. Nice. Otherwise known as the dictionary form. Nice. So we need to know that because that's going to kind of help us start knowing what part we take off to make the sentence, right? The other important thing is to be is a verb in Muskogee, right? That's why it's last, right? I always kept saying is last, are, swimming are, eating is, to be is a verb, which is why it's always last. Nice, okay. So then with that, we'll move on to like the next slide. Any questions on this slide before we move on? No, and. But yes, okay, so any questions on this slide before we move on? Okay. Okay, so what do we do? We're actually going to use the verbs in a sentence, right? Well, we have to conjugate. Now, not everybody's used to the idea of conjugating or knows what it means. That's okay. We're going to talk about it. So, the easy way to think of it, you know how the verb to be is in the dictionary as to be, but when we use it, we say I am, you are, she is. Well, those are 3 different words, right? Well, that's because am, are, and is are conjugations. They're conjugations of to be. That's how we made it into a sentence. I can't say I to be, you to be, and she to be, right? So I am, you are, she is. That's the verb changing to make your sentence. That's a conjugation. That's probably the most extreme English conjugation. In English, we don't have very intense conjugations. In Muskogee, we have more intense conjugations, but they're, what's a good word? A good pattern. They're not going to stray from the pattern. Once you know your pattern, you're good. But you know how to conjugate. So let's start with the easiest conjugations. This is what we're going to really focus on for the rest of class today, is our easy conjugations. Because then tomorrow, when we get into it, can kind of build on that one conjugation to kind of learn that with one concept of a conjugation, we can make already 4 types of sentences, right? So let's start with our first concept of looking at conjugation, and then we can build from there. And so by the end of tomorrow, you should be able to say 4 different sentences all on your own, as long as you know a verb. And I'll give you some verbs for a good word bank. Okay, so conjugating simple commands. We're going to start with simple commands because these are the easiest things to conjugate in Muskogee. You only require 3 steps. Very, very easy. So let's look at our steps. Okay. Now remember, saying a simple command, that's like when you're trying to tell someone to do something, which is really good if you have kids or you have pets or if you're a bossy person, either way. So sit down, eat it, go to bed, stop that, right? All that, simple commands. You're telling someone to do something. Okay, you take your verb in its dictionary form, which is the ida. It's the one where it still has its ida on it, right? Ida. So, hombida, right? There's our ida. Now you take away the ida. Take away the ida. You literally just get rid of it. Now we have home. Home. Now that's not a word by itself. You can't say home. That's not a word. This is just the process that you go through to make a sentence. Now, if you're a first language speaker or a native speaker, you probably don't think this way. But if you're learning Muskogee as a second language learner, this is probably going to be the most helpful way to think of it. So you drop that ida, you get rid of it. Now we have home. Now we're going to add our us. So you literally added us, right? Plus us. Home bus. And that means eat it. There's no it in the sentence, but it's implied. Eat or eat it. Right? So if you're like me and you got a cat, I got one cat that's really old, it won't eat when it's food time. So like you guys say, home bus. Eat it. Home bus. Home bus. Okay. Any questions so far? This is our first like real sentence that you're making. This is a full sentence by itself. So no questions? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so let's look at some more, right? Mvhayv. If you look at the top, it means let's practice. Mvhayv. So iskida. Okay, so who wants to tell me what's the first step, right? You just saw it for the first time. Does anybody remember what the first step was? And you can unmute. You can unmute. This is the time when you can unmute.
Drop the ETV.
Get rid of the ida.
Nice, good. Like you both said, you get rid of that ida. Right? So now we have isk. Okay, well then what do I do now? There's only one more step, and it's a full sentence. I add something.
Add the
Add the
VS.
Add the us.
Nice, we add us, right? And if you remember, if you know how to read Muskogee, that is a V and an S. Us. This is the plus sign. It's the plus sign. So you add us. Yeah, I'll put it right here. Plus us. There we go. So us. Nice. Iskus. Iskus. So ready? Repeat after me. The first one just means to drink. It's not a sentence. And then the second one means drink it. Drink it.
Discuss.
Nice. Okay, so we'll say both versions. Ready? I say, you say, iskida.
Iskida.
Nice. Iskus.
Discuss.
Yes. Nice. So drink it. And that can be anything from water, tea, juice, whatever you want. If we remember, right, subject, object, verb. So if I wanted to say drink water, right? Maybe you've been drinking a lot of pop and you need to drink some water. So drink water, right? Well, if this is the verb, right? So iskus is gonna be at the end. Where would water go?
In front.
in front of it. Nice,
Owa iskas.
nice. These are two different words for water. Owa and wiwa. I use wiwa, but a lot of other dialects use owa. So owa iskas. Wiwa iskas. Drink your water. And you can switch that out with literally anything. You can, if you don't know the word for juice, that's okay. Say it in English. Juice iskas. At least then you're using Muskogee, right? Coffee iskas. Or drink coffee. Asi.
Iskas.
Exactly. Asi. For anybody who wants a word, they didn't know this one. Tea. Coffee is coffee. And then obushwaji would be. I always mix up obushwa and obushwaji. One soup and one's juice. So one of the two, but yes, owa and wiwa, and that's water, right? So nice. Okay, now starting back over here, we have lick it up. What's our first step? So the us is more of a command. Yes, the us is a command. That's you telling someone to do something. So it's not a statement. That was always gonna be telling someone to do something. Drink it. So lick it up. First step. What's first step? You can write it or you can say it, either one. It's our first step.
Drop the eda.
Nice. Get rid of that ida. Nice. So now we have lick, right? Lick. It's kind of weird to say. We're gonna get stuck with that. Lick. And now we add what?
Us.
Add us. Less. Us. Lick us. Lick us. That's run. Run. Right? Run. Like there's a bear. Lick us. Run. Or maybe you're trying to bet some money on like, oh, let's see if you can run fast enough over there. Lick us.
Lick us.
Nice. Lick us. Nice. And then let's do this one. This is a really good one, especially if you have kids or pets, because a lot of times they do stuff they shouldn't do. So this is a really good one to know. Okay. Ready? Wake it up. First step. What do we do?
Drop the eda.
Actually, drop our ida.
And it becomes Vegas.
Yes.
Vegas.
Vegas.
Well, it sounds like
We all know that one.
I mean, it's a tiny crew.
Vegas. So the reason that means what it does, right? This means to stop or cease doing something. I specified that. We have two words in Muskogee for to stop. One is like stop doing something, and one is stop, right? Like to physically stop moving. So this one is to stop doing something. This is like if somebody's messing with the fridge, wait, just stop doing that, right? So wait is a good one if you're a parent, if you're an aunt or an uncle, if you're a cat or dog parent, these are great. Wait us, stop it. Wait us. Wait us. Okay, so now we're gonna clear it and we're gonna see it all with the pretty font together. Nice. Iscus, drink it. Lick us, run. Wait us, quit it, stop it. Okay, ready? I say, you say, iscus. Nice. Lick us. Wake us. Nice. And yeah, so you're already making sentences. Those are 3 full sentences. Because remember, in Muskogee, we only need 2 things: the verb to be last and a verb.
How do you say the word at the top? That seem,
She's like, I don't know much weird. This number.
There we go. Look this, make this onto the early. Okay, see you tomorrow. Okay, so the word at the top, and we'll learn that conjugation pretty soon. But same kind of idea. So if we break it piece by piece, C, E, M, A, Ya, eats. And my accent, my dialect, we use s, but some dialects don't use the T and they say Mvhayv. Both are fine, it just depends on your dialect. So C Mvhayv. C Mvhayv. Or C Mvhayv. see Mvhayv, and it means let's practice. Let's practice. Okay, and
Oh, yeah.
Meadow.
Sounds like she's loving her.
okay, so these are some of our words that we're going to practice with and use for tomorrow. So let's break down each one, and I want to remind you kind of with how about blue, or purple, whichever one it gives me. We're going to kind of show where that word will end when you want to add something, right? So first word, probably the most important word to know, and everybody's favorite word is hombeda. Hombeda, to eat, right? Hombeda, which means that when we conjugate it, we're going to get rid of the ida, right? That part gone, and then hombus, right? Hombus, eat it. Nice. So there's our ida. Hombeda. Okay, next one. Iskida. Iskida, to drink. Iskida. Next one is nojida. Nojida, to sleep. So iskida, nojida, right? It's got two. To sleep, right? Nojida, to sleep. Next, waigida. Waigida, right? Ida, to stop doing something, cease doing something. Now we have the other word, the physically to stop, like in place. We have the fikundida, fikundida.
Sekundina.
I speak fikundida. I remember, I'm sure that both Mvhayv Desiree and Mvhayv Becky have mentioned this. There's two N's here. That's important. You gotta hold it. Fikundida. Right? Fikundida. It's in the only example I can think of in English when we do that is with the word bus stop, right? If I say the word bus, it's one S. If I say the word stop by itself, it's one S. But we don't say bus stop. We say bus stop. We hold it. Bus stop. Right? So we're holding any doubles we have in Muskogee, we hold it. Fikundida. Fikundida. And that's to physically stop. Okay, next one. We have our Mvhayv. Mvhayv, that's to listen. Mvhayv. Mvhayv. On the other side, we got our likida. Run, likida. Just a good one to know. I have its opposite and a few words down. Next
Leg.
Nice, legida. That's it. Legida. I think that's also a word that a lot of people tend to know, because they probably hear legus a lot. So, legida. Next is puisada. If we're going to tell someone to sit, we gotta know how to tell them to stand back up, right? So,
With
puisada. Nice. It's a little hard to think sometimes for some people to think of what do I do with a U and an E? We'll make them both separately and then slur it. So, U, E, U, E, ui, ui, ui.
Ikira.
Nice, puisada, puisada. To stand. To walk. Now I forgot to put the word to in this one. I was too excited to walk. Yagabida. Yagabida. Now that might be a word you guys haven't heard before, because a lot of people aren't telling someone to walk. You just hear don't run. So yagabida. Yagabida.
Yakabida.
Nice. And then next we have magada. To say or to speak. Magada.
Magas.
Exactly. You'll hear that one, magus. And last but not least, we have hijada. Hijada, to see or to look. Hijada. So somebody might be like, look. And there's of course things like come on, but there's also he just look at it. Nice. Nice. Cool. So for tomorrow, we're gonna kind of practice with these words. We're gonna practice this concept as well as some of the other concepts that we'll kind of add to this that have the similar construction form. We'll use these words. These are our words we're gonna be using. So we're gonna make sure we got these in our brain. So one more time, I say, you say, hombeda. Nice. And then say it in English to yourself. So
All
you'll.
these little things I could-
Ambera.
And I said, well, I'm not sure if you should, they give me some information. I was connected. And so I was walking away.
Iskira.
Iskira. Iskiras.
Just because of the background noise. But I'm happy you're doing it, so continue to do it. So, eskida, to drink.
Iskira.
Remember to say to drink. Say it out loud to yourself. Well,
Iskira.
get the two together in your head. Nojida,
Nojira.
nice, to sleep. Wegida,
Wegira.
to stop, to cease. Fikonida,
Fikonera.
to physically stop. Mabuhejida,
Egida.
to listen. Likida,
Litkira.
to run. Legida,
Legira.
to sit. Quisida,
Kuithra.
to stand. Yagabida,
Yagavira.
to walk. Magada,
Magara.
to say or to speak. And then hijida, to see or to look. Nice. Okay, awesome. Now, I know that some people are probably thinking like, oh, the flyer says 1:30 to 3. Yes, mostly because generally I want to make sure we have plenty of time if we needed it. But the lessons themselves are kind of more constructed to be about an hour with 30 minutes if we need to go over for questions or help. So because it's the first class, probably don't have a lot of questions yet or homework yet because you haven't practiced it yet. But tomorrow, you might have a lot more questions. So we'll continue to practice this tomorrow. Right now, you learned today what the sentence order for Muskogee is. Who wants to say it for me out loud? You can unmute. What's the sentence order?
Subject.
Subject, object.
Verb.
Heck yeah, subject, object, verb. What are our 2 rules? What do we always have to have for a real sentence in Muskogee?
Verb.
A verb. And what's always last?
Verb.
Verb. Nice. So you have to know. I'm gonna call them the 2 rules. The 2 rules. And then we learned what a verb looks like, an action verb looks like. What does an action verb end in?
Us.
No, that's the
That's
conjugation.
command. That's command.
Yeah, that's the command. So what
Ida.
does ida, it ends in ida. Hombida, nojida, litkida. That's what a verb ends in. And then the last thing you learned, that was where you're on, was how to do a command. Command, there's 2 steps. First one is
Drop the era.
drop ida. Last one is
Add us.
add us. Nice, exactly. So those are the 4 main concepts you learned today, which honestly is a lot. Especially if, say, you've never talked about subjects and objects and verb before, that's a lot to kind of process, right? So I hope this was an easy way to kind of look at it. We're gonna have this on YouTube, so if you ever feel like you need to kind of again, feel free, go on YouTube once it's uploaded and rewatch it. We're gonna make a playlist that is specifically for sentence building like this. Tomorrow, we're going to review this as well as review our us, but the main meetup tomorrow is adding 3 more super simple conjugations, like this simple, the 2-step conjugations. We're going to add 3 more. In Muskogee, there's only 4.5, depends on how you look at it, 4.5 really, really easy conjugations. And then we'll learn the more like everyday conjugations. They aren't hard. They're just not nearly as easy as just us, These are really easy. So we're gonna do the 4.5 easiest conjugations tomorrow. And I'm gonna give you actually a PDF tomorrow that has a cheat sheet. That way you always have that paper you can look back to, and it has the like quick version of what we learned. And it'll have practice questions on the back that we can go over, you can ask questions about to make sure that you did get it right. So that'll be available. Tomorrow is when we'll actually show it. It'll probably be available a few days later, depending on just how fast we can actually get it uploaded onto Google Drive. So we'll let you know, but that will be there. Okay, look real quick. Okay, I have a question. Okay, so there's a few questions. Let's go ahead and get to our questions. So the first person that asked was Gino. So Gino, what's your question?
Where can we get one of the gray or red dictionaries?
I know for like the green dictionary and maybe the white dictionary, you can get those, I think, from Red Stick. Those are the ones that I know where you can get from. I like the green dictionary. The white dictionary is nice to kind of see some older forms. It's the one from, I know the date, 1890s. Versus the green dictionary is the one that made in the 2000s, so it's a little bit more recent. They're both good, but I do know that the green one for sure is available at Red Stick, so that's always good. I also wanted to go ahead and say, if you really find yourself wanting to get into grammar, this is a great book, but this is not an easy book. I love this book. You can tell because I have all of my amazing tabs in it and stuff and how much I've studied this thing. But this is definitely a very academic book. So it's very hard to read for some people. I'm basically in these classes translating this. So if you would rather just do these lessons, that's cool. But on your own time, if you'd like to, you can. It just might be a little hard to read. The book is called Of Creek, Muskogee. And I'll put it on here so you guys can see it. And it's by Jack Martin. So it's a great book, but yes, it is a lot. So, you know, maybe wait a little bit before you invest in it, just because it is a lot. But it is very awesome. I love this book. Okay, and let's see, going up to see other questions. Let's see, Justina, you said that I answered the question, okay. And then Amber starts, I think, what is it was to the book, I think, so I think I answered that one as well. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Any other questions before we hop off for this one? Tomorrow, I imagine tomorrow is going to probably be will probably be one of the ones that might be a little bit over the 1 hour, which is why I have it at 1.5 hours. But yes, so again, no other questions. Remember, those are the 4 things to think about and practice for tomorrow. One more time, I'm actually going to go backwards and pull up the list of verbs so that everybody can write it down for themselves. Because like I said, we're going to use these verbs tomorrow. So I'm going to give you a moment to write down your verbs. Oh, little Amy. Yes, and thank you, everybody. I had a lot of fun. I'm excited to do tomorrow too, because at the end of tomorrow, you'll be able to say 4 different types of sentences all by yourself. And you'll be able to tell people a lot of things to do. Yes. So I'm just leaving this up for a second. I'm probably going to go ahead and end the recording here. Class is going to be probably over for now. I'll leave it up though for probably, I'll give it maybe 3-ish minutes and then I'll close the class. But that way everybody has a chance to kind of write it down. One more question. If both Wiki and Yaji are in the third person, why do they have different endings? So that is a wonderful question. We will go into. For the fun of it, I'll answer it now. That is because Muskogee has 2 types of verbs. One is an action verb and one is what we call a stative verb, which is a state you are in. So in Muskogee, we see liking something as a state we are in. And so those verbs follow slightly different rules, which we'll cover in the future. Which is why I specified earlier, these are action verbs. So ita for action verbs, which is what most people think of when they think of birds. Yes, Inga.
Maru.
Inga, thank you so much for coming.
Oh.
Mado, Maya, Mashay.
Yeah, Inga.